once again going to be reading a Tumblr post on my phone, and then I'm going to make a new video continuing on the laptop because, again, I'm really sick of this phone and its bullshit with the battery and storage space. Anyways, it is May 6, 2026. I wonder if I can get my computer to just spell out the date instead of saying the number. Anyways, I just made a post on Tumblr, so I'm just going to read it out loud so I don't have to repeat myself. I mean, I am repeating myself, but so I don't have to come up with an entirely new way of saying the exact same thing. Nothing like people who claim there's no bigotry of any kind, including extra-sexism, in the Murderbot Diaries at all, consistently misgendering me with they-them pronouns, despite my pronouns being it, its, and skull, skulls. Wow! Almost like Martha Wells' intentional refusal to treat non-binary people as anything more than a matter-of-course, biologically essentialist stereotype that only literally sexless robots can be, doesn't actually represent non-binary people or do anything to make the world a better place for us. Wow! Almost like Martha Wells purposefully choosing never to let Murderbot or any other non-binary character actually be trans, rather than literally just being the non-binary robot stereotype that equates genitals to gender, so therefore, if you lack genitals, you literally cannot have gender, is literally purposefully done to allow other cis bigots to keep reading the books, while continuing to hate the real non-binary people who are supposed to feel represented by this. Wow. Almost like cis authors stereotyping and tokenizing non-binary people without ever actually having a single actual trans fucking gender character who is non-binary despite the fact that they have genitals, literally does nothing but reinforce the idea that non-binary is fake and something only literal aliens and robots can be, and any real person who identifies that way is simply fucking delusional because they can't be genderless, they have genitalia. Stop fucking applauding cis bigots for not even doing the bare minimum. Stop applauding cis bigots for stereotyping us and literally fucking spreading the idea that gender equals genitals, so the only way you can be non-binary is to literally lack genitalia. Stop fucking applauding cis bigots for their bigoted, biologically essentialist stereotypes that literally are designed to let other cis and other extra-sexist bigots read their work while still pretending they care about us. This is the fucking definition of queerbaiting, and it is actively, purposefully letting the cis and other extra-sexist bigots in the fandom thrive. Then I have a link to the post I wrote in 2022, The Murderbot Diaries and Gender, not nearly as progressive as you think it is, which I will read when I'm done this. You want to know why you, person in 2026, think, quote, it's so rare to see people misgendering Murderbot or the other characters, quote, because fucking non-binary people like me, who use its pronouns, have had to wade through shit for years, trying to get this fandom to stop being fucking evil to us at all times. Now, you get to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Now you can thank us by actually calling this shit out and acknowledging the root of the problem. Martha Wells is purposefully letting these people get away with this by purposefully choosing, for 8 years in a row, 13 stories in a row now, never to actually let this so-called representation that is nothing more than biologically essentialist and genital-obsessed stereotypes rise above those tired fucking stereotypes to become actual representation. We will never get the reveal that Murderbot was actually assigned a different gender and pronouns, and that it changed what was on its file when it hacked its governor module. We will never actually fucking get to be allowed to see any allowed to call themselves human non-binary characters actually fucking exist for more than 5 seconds. The 5 seconds it takes to tokenize them before they're thrown off screen, never to be seen again. We will never get to see any meaningful, intentional discussion of gender or pronouns in this series, ever. We can't even get something as simple as Murderbot telling people what its pronouns are. The reason there are so many extra-sexist bigots in this fandom is because Martha Wells wants them here. She could have chosen to chase them away forever before she even finished book 1. She is not an indie author. She is a career author. She has a professional editor putting his name on every one of her books. She has friends who read her first drafts. At literally any point, She could have chosen to write actual representation, the kind that actually makes the world a better place for us actual real fucking life non-binary people. But she has purposefully chosen, over and over and over and over again, with every single draft, with every single story posted, not to rock the fucking boat. She only lets characters be non-binary if they literally lack genitals, or if they are only going to exist for 2 minutes or so, literally just to make non-binary kids feel seen, only to be ripped away without ever even getting to be an actual fucking character. That's what I just wrote. Right now, today, May 6, 2026. Now let's fucking read the thing I wrote in 2022. The Murderbot Diaries and Gender. Not nearly as progressive as you think it is. Actually, I think I have a video where I might have already done that. Hey. Fuck it. I'll just do it again. And then and literally at the top of this post, hey, pretty kitty, stop scratching me. What are you doing? Oh, it's a you. Not even the usual one. What are you doing? You want to come here? Literally that's the title, and then I literally had to put an edit that says, "No, people, this is not an excuse for you to misgender Murderbot. Why do I even need to say this?" And then I said, and again, this was written in 2022. Here's a list of things Martha Wells needs to do before the Murderbot Diaries can in any way be considered trans representation at all, let alone good trans representation. Feel free to add on anything I missed. And keep this in mind. I am not human, I am non-binary, I use its pronouns, and I have read other, older books by Martha Wells. I have seen more examples on her views regarding gender and sex than appear in the Murderbot Diaries. I'm not saying this to, one-up anyone. I'm just saying I've had to read through her protagonist arbitrarily assigning genders and pronouns to other characters, and it was agonizingly bad to read, okay? And if for whatever reason someone decides to steal this post and put it on Twitter, since apparently people have done that with my posts about books and shows in the past, what the hell, people, you could at least have asked, let me just say, Martha Wells, hire trans and non-binary people to read over your books for you before you publish them. These are very basic problems with very simple solutions. Step 1. Have Murderbot explicitly state that it uses its pronouns. Have some asshole try to assign Murderbot different pronouns as a way of patronizing it while pretending they're being respectful and nice. Show how absolutely bigoted and wrong this is. State it explicitly that Murderbot's pronouns are its, and it hates being called by other pronouns. Have a construct or bot that has not been altered by humans be trans in a way that they have a very definitively binary gender, even though they have the same quote-unquote lack of gender or sex-related parts as Murderbot or any other bot. Give us a trans woman, robot, or construct. Give us a trans man, robot, or construct. Preferably one who hasn't or doesn't alter their configuration at all until well after their gender and transness has been established. Because let's set one thing straight. Martha Wells' grasp of gender so far is very blatantly that sex equals gender, or lack thereof. As far as Martha Wells is concerned, Murderbot is agender because it has no gender or sex-related parts. This is an established pattern in her writing. She's still very much on the train of sex equals gender, and is now just applying that no sex equals no gender as the logical conclusion. Except it's still the same transmisic idea, now just assigning gender, specifically its lack thereof, because they have no sex, to robots and constructs. She is pretty much pointing at a brick wall and going, that thing is genderless. Just like her protagonist Moon in the books of the Raxia sees a person with breasts and goes, oh, that person I thought of was a man because of their deep voice is actually a woman. Got it. Without ever once stopping to ask, or even considering asking, even though he's literally interacting with hundreds of species who interact with hundreds of other species on the daily. If Martha Wells had any understanding of gender, none of these characters would bat an eye at explaining their gender to different species, or having different sets of pronouns for each species and group, especially because they're all already speaking multiple language. The failing is in her non-existent understanding of gender beyond gender equals sex. Martha Wells has Moon go, breasts equals woman, deep voice equals man, and we're just supposed to go along with this because this is as far as her grasp of gender went when she was writing the books for the Raxura. And the exact same thing is happening in the Murderbot Diaries, except now she's gotten slightly better by having the characters be genderless, instead of having the protagonist literally go around arbitrarily assigning genders and pronouns to everyone he meets. And by he, I am of course referring to Moon, not Murderbot. Except it's not actually better, because it's still the exact same problem. It's the exact same form of transmisia, even though now she's trying to make it work. It does not. Martha Wells needs to learn that gender does not equal sex. She needs to give characters whose genders do not match their sex or lack thereof. She needs to stop assigning characters genders based on their sex. She needs to actually talk to and interact and learn from real trans people, especially non-binary people. So many things in the Murderbot Diaries could have been easily avoided by just having a single trans person read it and go, hey, just fix this thing quick, and it would be done. Like, these are short stories for crying out loud. It wouldn't be difficult to fix these problems at all. We need bot and construct characters who are binary trans. We need more main reoccurring human characters who are confirmed non-binary, and we need more main reoccurring characters who are confirmed non-binary specifically in ways that are not already socially established and accepted. We need a character who is non-binary, who is from a planetary system where only male and female are recognized. No free pass with tercera, which literally translates to third, already being a socially accepted mainstream thing. Having a gender trinary is not better than having a gender binary. Shoving people into 3 boxes is not better than shoving them into 2. Tercera could be a great idea as part of the world building, if it were one of many countless examples of both established and new non-binary genders across many planetary systems. And hell, for the binary bot or construct I mentioned earlier, if she wanted to show a character transitioning, Art literally has a fully equipped medical suite. Art or its drones could literally perform whatever gender-affirming surgery this bot or construct wanted. Step number 3. Again, it goes with the above. Having characters list their genders, or rather, knowing Martha Wells' view of gender, with all the reoccurring characters to date being cis, their sexes, in the feed is not enough, especially when Murderbot lists its gender as indeterminate or not applicable. That does not tell anyone anything about what pronouns it uses. If someone lists their gender as non-binary, that does not tell you anything about what pronouns they use. Even if someone lists their gender as man or woman or male or female, that literally does not tell you anything about what pronouns they use. The characters should not be listing their sex, because let's be honest, that's what they're doing. Because unless Martha Wells starts talking to trans people and educating herself about these sorts of things, she's not going to suddenly reveal that one of the reoccurring human characters has actually been trans this whole time. They should be listing their pronouns. This is their internet profile. People need to know what pronouns to use for them. Have Murderbot add its to its feed profile. Kill multiple birds with one stone. Explicitly state Murderbot's pronouns. Fix the fact that the characters list their sex on their profile rather than their pronouns. Metaphysically punch the transmissic readers in the face. Because there are people reading these books who purposefully fucking misgender Murderbot because they think calling it by its actual fucking pronouns is insulting. And that is an idea Martha Wells needs to snuff out explicitly. These people will literally argue with you that it's good for them to misgender the main character of the series. Step number 4. Have one of the main reoccurring human characters, Pinley, Rathi, Garathan, Mensa, Overse, Arata, etc., come out as non-binary. They figured out they were non-binary from hanging out with Murderbot so often. Look at that. We have a main reoccurring non-binary human character whose gender does not equal their sex, killing several birds with one stone. They can literally even change their name and pronouns and medically transition if they fucking want, because it's not like they don't live on planet-free healthcare, and more importantly, it's never too late to question or explore your gender, and you are never too old to do anything to realize you're non-binary and that is a lesson many people need to hear. So many people think they aren't allowed to be non-binary because they're, quote, too old, or been married too long, or had kids, or any other number of things that have absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you're non-binary. The only thing you have to do to be non-binary is be non-binary. And again, we need constructs and bots that are binary trans as well. We need more explicitly transhuman characters too, not just characters who we can literally only assume Murderbot is assigning they/them pronouns, since no one lists their pronouns in their feed profile, and Martha Wells has never bothered to say anything like, and their feed profile said they were non-binary and used they/them pronouns, so we literally just have to assume that Murderbot is assigning them pronouns. But instead of it being Moon and assigning everyone he or she, it's assigning people they/them like that's any better. Hint, it's not. It's the same problem, but now with a slightly wider range. Oh boy, you can tell I wrote this in 2022 and was still giving her the fucking benefit of the doubt, because this was from 2022, before she literally decided to double down on all of the racism she has ever written in 2023 and say that if you think that she wrote that the racist caricatures she wrote in the books to their ex are as bad, that means that you literally, in 2023 she decided to defend the original British colonizers, to say that her writing is also not racist. Literally in 2023 she decided she would rather defend the original British colonizers than simply apologize for using racist caricatures in her fantasy series. This was 2022. This was before that happened, and before I lost all hope, and before I gave up trying to fucking play nice. So, yeah. Continuing to read. Like, I love Martha Wells' writing. It's great. But she really needs to start talking to and listening to trans people, because there are so many problems that have absurdly easy solutions. She has improved since she wrote the books of the Raxura, but it's not enough improvement for these books to be called trans representation at all, let alone good trans representation, not even considering great. Murderbot isn't trans. It is the construct equivalent of being cis. It is a cis construct who agrees with the genderlessness it was assigned at construction. That's not trans representation. It's non-binary representation and arrow ace representation, but only in the form of a fucking stereotype. This isn't trans representation, and again, the only reason it is arrow ace is, again, because it is a construct that has no fucking genitals. This is still literally sex equals gender. To summarize, the Murderbot Diaries won't be representative of trans people until there are actually trans reoccurring characters, both human and non-human, binary and non-binary. The Murderbot Diaries won't be representative of trans people until Martha Wells learns to stop equating sex with gender, and the lack thereof with the lack thereof. We need constructs and bots who are trans in binary male or female direction. We need main reoccurring human characters who are non-binary. We need the characters to list their pronouns in their feed profile instead of their sex. Martha Wells needs to talk to and listen to trans people if she wants her stories to actually be representative of trans people and our experiences. She has improved since she wrote the books of the Raxura, but considering they're atrocious when it comes to not being bigoted, that's not saying a lot. That's actually the bare minimum. And then I updated this post May 11th, 2025, and said, I've since seen Martha Wells confirm that Murderbot is in fact a cyborg, not a robot, so that makes all of this exponentially worse in every way imaginable. Dear gods, it's just unforgivably evil now, and it was already bad enough. Yeah. You can tell, to quote Martha Wells, real people don't change all that much. And you know why she said that? To justify her not doing character development? It's because she refuses to learn and grow and change as a person. It's because she refuses to admit that she was wrong or that she ever did anything wrong. And she refuses to fucking just apologize for using racist stereotypes in her fucking fantasy series in 2011. in 2023, she literally decided, instead of apologizing, instead of actually reading the detailed and thoughtful essays people have been writing criticizing my decisions, while the people writing these essays are literally still pulling their punches and trying to say, oh, she's not racist, you can't call her racist. She read these and then still decided that instead of apologizing, instead of just promising to do better, she was going to defend the original British colonizers in order to double down on her own racism and slavery apologism. And literally, Martha Wells said, real people don't change all that much, so character development, that's not a thing that needs to exist. The lack of character development in my stories is a feature, not a bug. She says that in an interview. She doesn't put that on the fucking front cover. She doesn't put that in a preface to the stories. She says that in an interview 8 years into the goddamn series, after explicitly in the books promising that there would finally be character development. Martha Wells thinks people don't change all that much. I think you can all see from what I wrote fucking 4 years ago at this point how untrue that is. You can see I was still naively hoping that, she was learning off screen and actually taking the time to grow as a person. I've since realized, nope, she's never going to do that. She literally believes that that's not possible. She's going to double down on all of her bigotry forever until she dies, and will keep writing bigoted fucking books, including shit literally doing genocide apologism forever until she dies. And we are going to all have to suffer the consequences culturally, because every racist book that Martha Wells writes inspires the next generation of racist writers to write an even more racist book. Alrighty, bye-bye.